If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as follow me and subscribe to me on all my other social media platforms. What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with another album review for you guys. This week, we got only two albums we're checking out for the day of June 16th, and the first of the two I'm going to be talking about this weekend is the latest offering from Creeping Death, Boundless Domain. So this is the band's second full-length, and actually this is the first time I've checked out this band. I've heard this band kind of come up in like modern death metal circles in the past year or so, and when I saw that this band had a new album coming out, I was like, you know what, I'm going to give these guys a chance, and spoiler alert, I was fucking impressed. So we kick things off with the title track. You get this like creepy, clean intro build, but you also get some like doom-laden riffage. And then you get into kind of one of the modes that you get with this album, and that's some occasional hardcore-inspired grooves on top of death metal, and like immediately you get almost like a bolt thrower vibe, and there's quite a few songs on here that has a little bit of that like bolt thrower groove going on. But another thing that I really like about this album, and it does start off with the title track, is a lot of like thrash metal influence. Like there's a lot of like those thrashy beats pretty much on almost every song. There are a couple of songs where they don't go full-on thrashy, and they either go more in the hardcore groove. Dare I say it gets a little bit doomy at times. And like also like the blast beats. Blast beats don't pop up that much on this album, but whenever they do pop up, they're mostly there to be like a fill to lead into another beat, so to speak. That almost rhymed. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. I am sorry for that shitty joke, but whatever. So, then you get into some, like, other elements of this album, starting with Intestinal Rap featuring Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse as guest vocalist. And, yeah, you get a few songs where you get some, like, awesome triplet chugs. Like, here on Intestinal Rap, the Parthian Shot, you also get some cool triplet sections. Let's see, was there another one? No, those are actually the only songs that had like that real kind of triplet chugging sections that I really like in a lot of death metal. After all, you know, Blood Red Throne, Cannibal Corpse, Deicide, Decapitated, Monstrosity, Disincarnate, bands that do those triplet chugs well. And here, it's like with those two tracks, sounds like Creeping Death are really paying homage to a lot of those classic, mostly Florida death metal bands with those triplet chugs, and they were just so infectiously catchy, I would say. And that is kind of a sneak attack on this album, is there are some cool hooks, some cool catchiness on here, and even a little bit of melody, but even by saying that, there's not that many moments of melody, but when they do pop up, they stand out in these songs. To use as some examples, let's see. What would be a great example of when melody really kind of takes hold? As I'm looking through my notes, Creators Turned into Prey. That would be one of the big standouts where you do get like a melody in there, and it's mostly in the guitar leads. Like, a lot of the guitar leads on this album kind of range from like big squealy dive bombs to like complete and utter shred, but here on Creators Turned into Prey, you get like this almost like harmonized melodic lead, and I think it's this part right here that really does stand out on this entire album, because this album is just mostly about pummeling brutality with this guitar solo. This harmonized melodic lead section here on Creators Turned into Prey really makes this song kind of stand apart from everything else. And how could I have gone through this whole review without mentioning Adam D from Killswitch Engage doing the production, which you would think his production style shouldn't work with death metal, like he's mostly doing like mellow death or metalcore albums. but he actually helped really expand the sonics for Creeping Death on this album production-wise. Like, the guitars sound punchy and crunchy, and the mix, I would say one of the best mixed albums I have heard this year, because everything pretty nice and even the bass has a lot of moments of shine on here. Let's see, Vitrified Earth, I would say, has a really cool bass line that actually does lead into like a more melodic guitar section. Let's see if I had notes for another bass line that really stood out. Well, there wasn't that like many like bass lines that truly stood out, but the bass is super prominent in the mix. That's the bottom line, because I said so when it came to this to these notes I took. But also, you do get some like other kind of rhythms on here, like in the song Cursed. It kind of varies from like hardcore groove, then it gets into like almost a classic heavy metal inspired gallop. Even though the riffs are still like chuggy and pummeling, the rhythm feels more closer to like classic heavy metal, because it's just galloping along like a stampede of horses riding into war or something like that. And then, of course, you get another big moment, or another big part of this album, I would say, are nasty, sinister tremolo riffs. And a lot of these tremolo riffs definitely make me think of a band like Morbid Angel, maybe even a band like Immolation. Like, there's actually some parts, especially towards the back end of the album, where you get some, like, almost dissonant lines, or, like, dissonant moments that made me think of Immolation. Like, I would say The Common Breed, the lead there has a sinister melody that makes me think of Immolation. And then I would say perhaps, excuse me, yeah, The Common Breed, and Remnants of the Old Gods. The opening riff definitely has more of that dissonant atmosphere that you would think of when it comes to Immolation, kind of paying homage to that. But yeah, like I said, there are some doom sections on here, like in Remnants of the Old Gods. I would say also, yeah, the title track, I brought that up. Creators Turn into Prey. Like, you do get some like doomy grooves that pop up here and there to kind of change up, vary up the tempo changes that you get on this album. But yeah, like the tremolo riffs, Looming, you get some nasty tremolos. The Common Breed, really fucking nasty. And then you get to the end of the album, the song The Edge of Existence, which I heard was on their EP that came out either last year or in 2021, but it made the cut of the CD release of this album. And actually, that song is, granted, it was from a different recording, but they added it here. That song sounds really nasty, and it has that bolt thrower vibe. And I also like how with the flow of the album, you open up with the longest track of the album, and you end the final two tracks with the other two long tracks at 4.5 minutes. Whereas the opener was closer to like 5.5. But in between, you get these more compact songs that just deliver and punish. And then one final thing with this album is the breakdowns. Like, a lot of these breakdowns feel closer to like brutal death, or maybe even slam death. Like, I got a lot of like dying fetus and suffocation out of these breakdowns, particularly in Looming and the Parthian Shot. Those two songs have some real suffocation style breakdowns, and I really, really enjoyed those. Now, as far as anything I could really find to complain about this album, I honestly don't really have any, really at all. So, honestly, while I'm not going to call this a perfect album, I am going to say this is as damn near close to perfect this year as you can get. 9.5 out of 10. This was a beast of an album, and now I want to go and listen to the EP and their debut and eventually get it all in the collection, because basically, if you are a fan of groove-laden death metal, bands like Gatecreeper, Frozen Soul, Yeah, basically bands along those lines that focus more on Bolt Thrower, that focus more on groove, Broken Hope, I would say even. If you are a fan of those bands in particular, you will love this. God knows I did. But of course, this is all just my opinion. What did you guys think of Boundless Domain by Creeping Death? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, keep your horns high and your dreams wet.